forewarning, the Marco Polos that are in the family chat, it's over an hour of me talking, just so you're prepared, and I will not be offended in the least if you don't watch them. The summary of all those Marco Polos is me sharing how I was feeling a horrible gut sadness and loneliness and regret and I don't know, a bunch of different things about missing the Park Service again, and how I was watching body cam footage from Lassen last night into the morning, and today I was still very much devastated about it and reached out to one of my old chief rangers to talk, just to bring it up, but also to ask him if he knew if I would be able to get my body cam footage from Yosemite, which I do not have, because I realized in my desire to write a screenplay about an NPS ranger, I realized that my body cam footage is an invaluable resource. It takes me back to specific contexts I had, and even the dialogue is perfect. Like almost half of it, like probably more than half, could be just for rote. Anyway, so I was like, man, if I could get my body cam footage from Yosemite, that would be incredible. Not to mention, just I love having my body cam footage so I can remember my time doing it, because I miss it so much and I love it and all these different things. And the chat with him was very encouraging, and he told me to send a FOIA request, and so I did. And I'm feeling really encouraged that I might actually get some of it, maybe more than some of it. I requested mine, but then I also expanded the request to ask for any videos that, any body cam footage that I was in. And then I said, or could I just get all of the law enforcement rangers' body camera footage from basically my start date to my end date, which would be a lot of data, but would be, again, incredibly valuable for writing a screenplay, which I told them in the FOIA request is what I'm doing. And I was saying how I feel like this would be an absolutely incredible TV show. And I was, in my conversation with Gus, he was talking about like being an academy and the different things you learn and the dynamic of visitors not recognizing that we're actually law enforcement, like legit, which added another element of something that would be interesting to relay. And then as I was thinking about this, that's when I thought about, man, this would be an amazing TV show. I'm thinking about Blue Bloods, and just cop shows in general. People love cop shows. And I was thinking, man, if I could write a show about NPS Rangers, but the specific focus of like the theme being the goal of it to show the officer mindset behind why we do what we do, what we're thinking, why we respond certain ways, and in the hopes of making it more clear why, and bridging the gap of misunderstandings between law enforcement and the people we serve and protect. And I just was thinking about all the different dynamics and how interesting that would be. And if I had the footage of the other rangers, I could look at their contacts and how they handled it and their personality, which would be great for developing other characters. And then I was getting super overwhelmed because this deserves to be a TV show. And I don't even know how to write. I don't know how to write a screenplay. I've never written a screenplay, and it feels super overwhelming, super daunting. And I'm afraid, that causes me fear. But then also, like, what if I don't actually get to be a main character in this thing that I want to create? And then I was thinking about, I'm afraid of my aging, and and then I was thinking about the positive of, oh my gosh, what if I would get to go back to doing law enforcement as an actor, doing NPS law enforcement for a TV show that I wrote that has a goal that is my goal, what I want, and how just I would be so passionate about that project. And thinking about if that wouldn't be like just the most amazing, wonderful thing ever. And anyway, I go into a lot more detail, but that's basically what I talked about for over an hour. I am thankfully not feeling that horrible, like, awful, painful, emotional feeling I've been feeling. So I'm really thankful for that, because it was pretty agonizing. And I'm really optimistic that this might be something that God is wanting to accomplish as well, and that there's going to be favor to accomplish it. And I'm just wondering, like, I felt like I heard God say, Laura, you're on time. And I'm just wondering if everything that's happened since 2012, really, because that's when I went to visit Jared in North Cascades, which set me on this journey for NPS. If everything that's happened since then is actually leading to this, and what if it brings about real cultural change and improves the relationships between law enforcement and everyone else? And how incredible that would be. And just for law enforcement, and specifically NPSLE, to feel seen for what they do, and really to be celebrated. Anyway, that's all the stuff. So, if you want to listen, that's what I talk about for a very long time. And if not, then if you would just pray for me to stay motivated, but not overwhelmed by the gravity of what I want to accomplish. And to trust God in the process, that whatever is going to happen, that that He has my best interest at heart, and that my aging and just my face, my body, health, and whatever isn't going to prevent me from doing what God is calling me to do. That no door can be shut if He opens it. So, yeah. The last thing I'll say is, I'm currently feel like I'm teetering between feeling really overwhelmed and afraid and a bunch of other things, and these feelings are causing me to want to go to a coping mechanism of just watching random stuff on TV. And the other part of me is super encouraged and excited and motivated and just wants to dive in and do this. But I also feel really overwhelmed, so I want to just watch TV and not focus on it. But I also don't want to waste any time. So I'm like, oh, it's like this wrestling match going on now. I'm glad it's not accompanied by really awful feelings, but there's definitely tension right now. So if you could just throw a prayer out when you think about it for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Yeah. I'm really struggling today with missing the park again. I was doing okay yesterday in the afternoon, but today it's rough again. And I'm still not exactly sure what it is specifically that I'm missing. But it sucks. Yeah, it sucks. It kind of feels like grieving, but more like, feels like grieving, but I would have the option to not have to grieve. It would just not make sense. Like, if I wanted to, I could go get my EMT again. I could go back and do the law enforcement, but it doesn't make any sense. It'd be going backwards because I would only do it for a year or two. It makes no sense to spend 2 or 3 years to do a year or two. It's another 5 years of my life. And yet I really miss it. I ended up, when I was going through all the videos and photos yesterday, I found my body cam footage from 2015. I couldn't get 2016, although I am reaching out to a friend and asking them, if I asked them, would I be able to get this? Is it even worth asking? For my year in Yosemite, because I only have footage from the second half of my season in Lassen. And it's not as many contacts, and they're not as interesting, because there wasn't much going on there. But the ones I did find were helpful for remembering protocol and just getting to see me do that work. But I ended up watching that till like 5 a.m. accidentally. There was a lot that I rewatched again and again. And it revealed some stuff. Like one video in particular was, we did a shooting exercise. And in the exercise, we just come up on it, and the person leading the exercise, he has 5 targets set up, and then he just doesn't give you a lot of information, but tells you to stop the threat, but doesn't necessarily clarify which one is the threat. So I'm really frustrated. I'm asking for more information, and I was more sassy because it was the guy I was kind of dating, so I felt more comfortable to be very brash. So it was interesting seeing me like that, because I forgot that I used to be like that. And then after the exercise, he explained where where was confusing, and then I was angry, and then I got more angry, because I didn't do the exercise right, and I just had my shotgun, and I just stomped back over to the rig and threw my ear protection in the car and was really irritated. And it was the footage was from his body camera, so watching me. And he comes up and he thinks it's no big deal, and then he realizes I'm pissed, and he's like, and you're pissed, why are you upset? And I was like, because I didn't do it right, and you didn't give me enough information, and he's trying to explain, like, no, you did it right. You're not always going to have all the information you need, blah, blah, blah. He's like, Laura, you did it right. And he's like, why do you always get so angry when you think you've done something wrong when you haven't? And like, watching that hit me so hard, because I remembered and am recognizing it's still going on, that I am not okay not doing things perfectly, I guess. I'll say good, but maybe perfectly. And watching that video, I was like, oh, I remember something I'd told people after I'd left the Park Service was that it was the perfect situation to hit all of the unhealthy places in me and make them worse. And I was like, and this is a prime example. I was so hard on myself. Still am. But, like, I was so hard on myself. And I worked really, really hard to try and be perfect in everything. And you just can't be. Because everything's constantly changing. No matter how well prepared you are, you're not going to be prepared for everything. You're not going to do everything perfectly. But watching that footage, I was like, oh, I remember how hard I was on myself. And how I just really, really worked hard. And in the same way, I still get very irritated when I don't do my job perfectly. And I get really irritated when other people don't take their job seriously either. So that was a good reminder. And it was a good reminder. And at the very same time, I still miss it so much. And I wish I didn't, but I do. But it makes no sense to try and go back. And I was asking God today, like, why is this so hard? And I felt like he was saying, like, you need to let go. I just don't want to. I don't want to, but I have to. And I don't really know how. And I'm trying to remember all the things that were really hard and really painful and that sucked. Like, I was desperately lonely. And like in Yosemite, my last year, I found out at the end of my season that apparently a lot of people didn't like me. And I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of people didn't like me because I really stood out because of how hard I worked. And it made them look apathetic in comparison. And just, I ended up getting a lot of attention. And I think a lot of people were jealous, especially the other seasonals. And I'm sure there's other reasons, like watching some of my videos, I was laughing out loud at some of the things I said, where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Like, it was hilarious, but like, wow, I can't believe I said that. And like, this is good content. But it makes me wonder, like, if that's what I was saying to people on traffic stops, what was I saying to my coworkers that was snarky or whatever? Yeah, I don't know. Just in general, one of the other girls that was there full time, I could tell, was also very lonely. And she relayed, like, this is a boys' club, and the boys don't like when girls are excelling. Which, to an extent, I kind of agreed, because the people there weren't the most healthy. So I'm trying to focus on that. Like, I was so painfully lonely. And I was reading through messages from one of my friends who I went to academy with, and he worked in the park service for a few years, and then he went to Department of Veteran Affairs. I was reading his messages, and he's like, no, it's good that you got out, because the park service won't care for you. You'll give them your life, and they'll just toss you aside. And he was trying to say, like, it's hard to work for a government agency like that, and they're not going to care for you well. I was like, I hear that, but I was there for me, and I loved serving in that. And I didn't want to do it forever, but I certainly wanted to do it for a few years. But then the thought that just popped in my head just now was, even if I had done a few more years, would I not still feel this sadness after leaving anyway? I think I'm obviously externally processing. I think that maybe we'll say the lie in my head is this, that if I had just done 1 or 2 more years, I wouldn't feel like this. And maybe I wouldn't. But maybe I would. I was also thinking of, like, the timing. I was like, okay, Kelly moved to Nashville at that time. It was the perfect time for me to move in with them. And then all the blessings that came from me living in Nashville. Going to Grace Center, getting healing, going to SOSL, the friends, the community that I have, that I wouldn't have if I had stayed in Yosemite even another year. And who's to say that I wouldn't have gotten seriously injured the next season doing something, I don't know, or gotten into a serious contact, and then even if I'd been justified, you can still lose a civil suit and then you lose everything. So who's to say my life wouldn't have been an absolute disaster had I done another year or 2 or 3 or whatever. And I'll never know. But I'm thinking about what the acting teacher said about people that are more self-aware do a better job with acting because they're able to empathize and think about just the deep things that cause a character to be very dynamic and interesting on screen. And I wouldn't know how to do that had I not spent these last 6 years plus going through my own healing journey. And I felt like God said on the drive home last night from the Filipino martial arts class, he's like, Laura, you're right on time. And I was just feeling so panicky because I'm like, God, I'm old and I'm getting wrinkles and my smile's uneven, and I'm just afraid that all these things are going to prevent me from being able to do roles that I want to do. And then I was missing, because the Park Service doesn't care if you have wrinkles, you're still going to get to do law enforcement. And so I was just thinking about that, and I was like, oh, I'm making decisions and I'm afraid because of something that I can't change. But if God's the one who's going to bring me into it, it doesn't matter what I look like. And he's told me that before. In the class last night, so my phone was still with the dehumidifier, which, by the way, I'm on my phone right now. It seems to be working fine. I think it's okay. I'll let you guys know, but I think it's okay, which is great. But I didn't have my phone last night, and I was driving to my class, and we were going to be tested on a few different skills that I didn't make time to practice, and I was feeling crappy, and I really hated how I felt that, like, I didn't put the work in. So I showed up, and I was like, I'm not prepared. This sucks. I hate this. I'm going to disappoint my teacher. I'm disappointing myself. And I was driving there, and then I missed my exit, and then I was like, okay, now how the hell do I get there? And I took this roundabout way, and I got stuck in a neighborhood, and thankfully I put the address in on my iPad and took a picture of it so I could hopefully find my way if I got lost. But because I took a wrong turn, it was the wrong spot. But then I opened up my iPad hoping that it would have, like, the road names so I could find my way, and it was actually showing me the map of how to get there, even though my iPad wasn't connected to the internet. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you, God. So I got to class a little late. And when I got there, they were already working through an exercise, and I jumped in and I was so frazzled. And when I was doing the exercise, I was just sucking and I wasn't good. And then I was feeling really hard on myself. I was like trying not to cry. And I was just aware, like, I am not okay doing things not well. I don't like this. I hate how I feel. And it's not that I couldn't do it well, it's that I didn't put the work in. And so I was thinking about that. And then watching that video from me doing the shooting exercise in Lassen, I was like, oh, this is still here. This not doing it perfectly thing, where people around me are like, you're doing great. You're doing fine. You're in process. You're learning. And, or, like in the shooting exercise, he's like, you did it perfectly. Like this, he's like, the point of this exercise was just to think through it. You did. You took the information you had, you made a decision, you acted on it. And he's like, and the point of this exercise wasn't even accuracy, and you're still accurate, like, in my shots. And he's like, you did, swearing a lot. I swore a lot back then. He's like, you did effing great. He's like, so stop being angry. And I stomped away still. And he kept trying to encourage me. He's like, Laura, you did it right. Stop being so hard on yourself. I don't understand why this is so hard. I don't understand why I miss it as much as I do. I don't understand why it's so hard for me to let it go. I don't understand why I'm so heartsick. And I'm also not sure if some of what I'm feeling is regret, or if maybe some of this uncomfortable feeling is actually part of what I felt when I was in the Park Service, where I think it's that I'm missing NPS, but this is actually some of the aching and loneliness that I felt when I was there, but I don't remember. I don't know. I guess I'm almost 4 months into a new life. And has it been? It's been 9 years since I was in law enforcement academy. I think I'd be graduating law enforcement academy about now, 9 years ago. And now I'm starting a new life. I also found tons and tons and tons of videos. There's so many videos of me singing all over the place for before the Park Service and in the Park Service. And I'm trying to remember, like, okay, what I'm pursuing right now is unto being able to sing and perform, which I really wanted to do then, but I couldn't. This is just so hard and hurts so much. And I feel really uncomfortable, and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to not be uncomfortable anymore. Anyway, if you think of it, maybe pray that for some reason I have favor and I can get my videos from my body cam footage from Yosemite. I don't think I'll be able to, but we'll see. I'm at least glad that I have my ones from Lassen. It sucks because it doesn't show me doing law enforcement. It's just my voice. But that's better than nothing. And then one of the things I was sad about was not having a lot of pictures of me in uniform. But from Lassen, I grabbed videos from some of the people that went on contacts with me in the hopes that I would have me on camera. And there was some. So they're not great pictures, but they're pictures. So I have a few pictures of me in my uniform. And that's nice. Yeah. I don't know, we'll see. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm done crying for a little bit again. My neck hurts too. I had plans for today, but my neck's so stiff. It's hard. A thought that just came to mind isn't really encouraging, but it is something that made me feel uncomfortable. We would constantly do different trainings and scenarios, and like the story I told you about the shooting exercise. I remember just how very hard I was on myself for every exercise, any place where I didn't do it perfectly or what I perceived was perfect. And I just really beat myself up. Yeah. One more thing. Sorry, I wish I had a little counter that told me how long I was talking for. But I had some of my t-shirts that said Park Ranger and all that stuff on it. And like some of them had a badge. The ones I had were like kind of crappy fabric quality, and so they shrunk and they're just really tight, especially that I'm heavier than I was then. Not by much, but enough. And I logged on to Sally's Cop Shop, which is a website where you can order these uniform items. And I just wondered, I was like, man, I wonder if they still have my stuff on file, that if I ordered something, they would let me. So I logged on in February and ordered a couple shirts. And it must have still had my information on file that I was a legitimate officer at one point. Like, when I first got the account, I had to take a picture of my badge and my credentials. And then they verified it. And I was able to order a couple shirts, and that made me really happy. And my goal is that I would lose weight and I could actually fit into the older ones, and or I'll just buy more shirts that are the better quality fabric, like the ones I just got, but in the small size, for when I do lose weight. Tone up, I'll say, I guess. But that was really nice, and I'm looking at my closet, and I can see my shirt and my hat with my badge on it. Not my badge, but the badge on it. And I just love that now I'm not afraid to wear them. Whereas before I didn't want anyone to know. And now, like, I'm proud of it. I definitely need some more healing still, though. Anyway. Yeah, if you guys could pray for me to let this go so I can move forward. That'd be great. Thanks. I found out that I was talking for 25 minutes, so for those of you that made it through, cool. For those that didn't, I was basically just saying how sad I am and how much I miss the Park Service and doing law enforcement. There's the summary. And that I was up till 5-ish this morning because I didn't realize how fast time was going by, that I was watching body cam footage from Lassen Volcanic. I don't have the ones from Yosemite, but I did get the ones from Lassen. So, that being said, I thought about how I would really love to have my footage from Yosemite, and I reached out to one of the old chief rangers from Yosemite, who's been very kind and encouraging over the last, well, the entire time when I was in Yosemite and also after. He's been immensely encouraging. Anyway, so I reached out to him and said, "Hey Gus, bit of an out of there question, but I'm beginning to write a screenplay about NPS LE, drawing ideas from my experience. I did some Googling trying to find an answer but came up short. 2 questions. Do you think my body cam footage from 2016 would still be in their archive? And second, do you think I might be able to acquire a copy of it if I reached out to them?" And he said, "So it might still be around. They have switched to a different service, but knowing the old Valley District Ranger, Jack, I bet he managed to save the data. You'll have to submit a Freedom of Information Act request, pay the cost for the work, etc., and get a copy of the records, but good luck." And he said, "By the way, if you're looking for some guidance, I would be happy to contribute. Sounds like a neat project." Sorry, I'm just full of tears. And I said, "I would be immensely grateful. I've only just started on it, so it's a bit early, but you'd be an invaluable resource for wisdom and experience. Part of my desire to write this might be to help heal the sadness I still feel missing working Ellie. I don't know why this has been so hard to let go of. It feels like a part of my soul." He said, "I understand. I took a job as a safety officer before I went into full retirement. It made the transition easier, but leaving the tribe was hard. I'm sure you'll get there. This is a great way." I said, "Wow, that's a beautiful way to describe it. Leaving the tribe. It does feel like loneliness." And, man, I'm thinking about how a lot of law enforcement officers commit suicide once they retire. And I think I'm just wondering. I think I said in one of my Marcos, I don't know if I would feel this way still if I had done a few more years or not. But I wonder if I would still feel this way no matter how many years I worked. And now I'm thinking that was probably true. And that maybe the combination of feelings that I'm feeling is similar to what officers feel when they retire, where they feel like they're out of the tribe now. They're not included in the brotherhood anymore, and loneliness and purpose are gone. And, man, and I'm sure most of them probably don't have Jesus to rely on. And if I didn't have Jesus to rely on, and if I didn't have a value for feeling my feelings, I would probably be completely drunk right now to not feel this, because it sucks. Anyway, yeah, I said, "Wow, that's a beautiful way to describe it, leaving the tribe. It does feel like loneliness." And I said, Gus, you've been so kind and encouraging to me for the entire time I've known you. I truly don't have words to properly thank you. You make me feel like I'm still connected to the tribe. Thank you. He said, you're welcome. I enjoyed seeing you work. Confident, professional, and strong. So that felt good. So I did some, I found a copy in my email of like a bunch of correspondence from before I was working in the park service between me and the district rangers, and a copy of the schedule. So I'm pretty excited about that. I was able to make a copy. I still had access, so I was able to make a copy of the schedule. So I have my working schedule of just like the day and basically what I did on that day. Like if I did a shift or if I was doing a training or something. So I have a copy of that, which is so cool. Ugh. And then I did what he said, which was to submit a Freedom of Information Act request. So I put that in. My request was, I'm requesting my body cam footage from Yosemite Valley National Park for the 2016 season, call sign Victor 37 on Shift 3, under Valley District Ranger Jack Hoflich and Shift Supervisor Aaron E. Smith. Entrance on duty date, April 3rd, 2016. Close of business date, October 15th, 2016. Depending on complexity, I would also like to request the body camera footage of fellow rangers who were on calls with me as well, or to simplify the search by greatly broadening the data request, I would like to request the body camera footage of all law enforcement personnel from April 3rd, 2016 through October 15th, 2016. These requests are unto refreshing my memory of protocols, various contexts, and experiences to pull ideas from towards the screenplay I'm writing on the perspective of a NPS law enforcement ranger. It will be an authentic representation with the intent to be educational and illuminating on the mindset and decision-making process for law enforcement rangers, and feature the unique style of educational law enforcement that is most thoroughly demonstrated by NPS law enforcement rangers. So that was my request. And, you know, being a government thing, who knows how long before I hear back whether the footage is even still available. Second, if they can even release that to me. And third, how much it will cost to release it to me, and what they'll be able to include, what they'll be able to release to me. So, we'll see, but at least now I've asked for it. So then I let Gus know, I messaged him back and said, FOIA request submitted. Hopefully I'll hear back that my request is possible, but either way, thank you. I'll be sure to reach out to you to glean from your wisdom and experience. I do actually have one question to start, as I'm pondering themes that I want to include in the screenplay. What is something you wish people, visitors, knew and understood about working law enforcement for the NPS, maybe such as the decision-making process that goes into why we do what we do on calls? I think one of my goals is to illuminate the complexity of what goes into performing law enforcement. I feel especially in the last few years it's become more of an us versus them. My thinking is, if more understood the way we think, we might be able to bridge the gap and potentially gain easier compliance in the field. And entertainment and media is a great avenue to share those thoughts. And he said, so the first hurdle to overcome is the traditional, I don't know if you really need to hear this. Basically, he shared with me like how people don't necessarily understand that when they hear of a law enforcement ranger, they don't believe that we actually do law enforcement, and all the training that goes into being able to do what we do, what we learned and studied. And he said, so it was helpful him suggesting like relaying that information and what it was like going through the training in an academy, and also illuminating the struggle of people not understanding, no, this is real, I'm really in law enforcement, I'm really telling you to do this. And just him exposing some more of the different inner struggles that we might have in law enforcement, and the hang up in basically just people understanding, like, no, this is an authority figure you do need to listen to, stuff like that. It was just very interesting. And he's like, yeah, and how to get across all that is a challenge. And I said, well, I'm certainly eager to try. Again, Gus, I really appreciate your time and encouragement. I'm in such a brighter state than I was a few hours ago. You've really lifted my spirits. I hope at some point I can join you and Sylvia, his wife, for tacos and talk about good times in Yosemite. He's Hispanic, and so one of the things we did when we were in Yosemite is we had taco nights, because one of my coworkers that I lived with was Hispanic, and so we'd have a very authentic taco night, and it was so much fun. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now, and I'm excited about the element of having somebody who had way more experience in this than I did by many, many years, much more diverse experience as well, is willing to, like, he's retired, so he has the time, he's willing to share input on this screenplay and the project in general and help me along the way. So I'm like, cool, that's provision. Provision and encouragement to pursue it. And but then I started feeling overwhelmed because my original goal was like, I don't know how to write a screenplay, and that feels really daunting as well. So I was thinking about it, and as I was pondering yesterday, okay, well, if I'm doing a short film, how do I want it to start and how do I want it to end? How do I start it and how do I end it? Like, what is a good way to start, a good way to end it? And then what all can be included to make a cohesive story? And I'm just like, this is so complex, I don't know how to do this. And I was really struggling with how to start and end it so it's not just like an abrupt beginning and end. And then after talking to Gus this evening, I was thinking about the training that goes into it and just all these different stories and experiences. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like this would actually be a really cool TV show. Like a multi-season TV show, because there's so much that goes into it. And there's, the context. And I'm just thinking about all these different, like, law enforcement TV shows and stuff. And just like, this would be a really cool TV show if it was done right. And especially if I can get the body camera footage, that's going to be really helpful for getting ideas of what to write about for all these things. But anyway, as I started thinking, like, this really needs to be a TV show. Like, this is a really freaking cool concept, and cinematically in general, like, it's not a city, it's nature, so inherently it's just beautiful to look at. I'm thinking of, like, Yellowstone, which I've actually never seen, but I hear people talk about it all the time, and from the gist of what I think it is, it's set in, like, more Old West style Yellowstone, and it's a really, really popular TV show, and people love cop shows and all these different things, and I am both excited because I feel like this is a really interesting topic and an interesting way of looking at law enforcement while also having all these other options for characters. I just feel like could be really, really, really cool. But now I'm feeling incredibly overwhelmed at the scope of what I would love to accomplish, and how the hell am I going to do that? I can't even figure out how to do 5-10 minutes and just start and end it. How would I go about writing a multi-season TV show about this? And I'm definitely putting the cart before the horse on this guy. Like, I only wrote like 3 pages or less yesterday, and not 3 pages of a a book. 3 pages of a book is a legit page of words. A screenplay, although most screenplays are normally, for a movie, is like 150-ish pages. So there's that. But it just, anyway, I'm feeling overwhelmed about it. But then I'm thinking, oh, how cool would it be if I got to do a multi-season TV show about being a law enforcement ranger? Like, how cool would that be? How cool would that be? Yeah. So I was just thinking about that. But now I'm feeling like super overwhelmed at looking at something down the line. And then I'm also coming back to my fear of I look older. And I was like, here's something that I've been stressing about recently is the nasolabial folds, which is apparently what this is called, that when you're younger, it tends to look more like this. And when you get older, there's more of a prominent line and you look older. And I was just noticing how prominent mine look. And it definitely makes me look older. And it's stressing me out. And part of me is like, maybe it's because I'm sleep deprived. Maybe if I got more sleep, I wouldn't look so old, because that does make it a big difference on your skin. Sorry, I'm going long again. Anyway, I'm sad because I missed the park service, although in this very second, this very moment, I'm not feeling the sadness and aching. So that's great. 2, I'm overwhelmed because I want this to be a multi-season show, because I think it would be fantastic. But I don't know how to do it. And then I guess another fear to throw into the pot is, what if I did this, but then I didn't get to be the lead, like the character? I guess I could just, I don't know. Anyway, all these different fears, and then this would be such a massive project. How would I be able to do this quickly and well before I get too old? Just all these different things. Oh my gosh, so many different things. So, yeah, there's that. I'm also thinking about the complexity for filming in general, because Yosemite is a massively busy park. But I guess most of the time, unless you're seeing the grand scope of stuff. Sorry, I won't ponder it in front of you. But in my head, I'm just like, actually, no, this could be possible. You just get the establishing shots when it's not busy, or you can get them when they are busy. And most of the shots won't need to be done. Most of them could be done somewhere else that is nature. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I don't feel gutted to the core right now, and I don't know if it's because I cried it all out, or if God was allowing me to feel that discomfort to propel me to reach out to Gus. I have no idea, but part of me is super optimistic that this is going to work out, that I'll be able to get that footage, or at least some footage, because I think I perceive that there's favor for me to be able to. I'm thinking about when I decided to reach out to my friend Sean in Yellowstone about holsters and like within that week or so, they were going to be switching to another holster, another gun. So the timing was perfect. So I'm just, I don't know. I just feel like it might actually happen. It might actually work, which would be really cool. Also, looking at my videos and pictures from when I was working law enforcement, I think I was still 165 weight when I was working. Obviously, there was a lot more muscle than there is right now because I was weightlifting regularly. But I'm feeling really motivated to exercise, and really I'm really motivated to be healthier in what I eat and what I do. Gosh, it's been an emotional 2 days.